So it's great to be here in this tropical weather. I'm still polishing my English, so sorry if I will sound some confused some moments. All right, I had plenty of images that I really would like to share with you. I got 15 minutes. Let's see if it's possible to do that. All right. 1984, the Brazilians walk over the historical cities claiming for their rights, especially asking for the right to vote. 2013, once again, Brazilians walk over the historical centers in the whole country asking for better public service, better housing solutions, better public transportation, and especially talk against corruption. So what happened from 1984 to 2013 in Brazil? A lot of things happened and a lot of massive transformation we faced in those years. We achieved democracy, we achieved a stable economy, we had a massive social inclusion, but we are still missing cities in the Brazilian political environment. None of these aspects were perfect. We are still facing problems in democracy. We are still facing problems in the economy. We are still facing problems in inclusion. But the city is not to work in Brazil anymore. And this is creating a very intense spatial segregation. And we are somehow starting to lose the quality of our political environment because of this very intense segregation. It's not only a matter of creating a ghetto for poverty, but it's also we are organizing the Brazilian society into different ghettos. And at the same time, the federal government created this program called Minha Casa Minha Vida, 340 billion reais, which is it's basically $90 billion from 2009 till now, making 4 million units. It's one of the massive housing, it's one of the massive construction programs in the world, which has as consequence housing. Almost 50% of those houses had construction problems, and the housing deficit is still the same. So we got the 7 million housing deficit, and at the same time, we got 6 million abandoned buildings in the historic center. So what happened from this very optimist time in the beginning of the early 80s till now? At that moment, in the early 80s, a lot of things happened in historic centers in Brazil. Salvador invited Lina Bobardi to make a master plan. São Paulo made an urban intervention in the core of historic center by Jorge Wilheim. And Rio de Janeiro created a comprehensive master plan to preserve the historic in downtown area. But if you look now to the 27 metropolitan regions in Brazil, which concentrated half of the population, Brazil got one of the highest rates of urbanization in the world, we are missing something. We are losing our memory. We are losing the archives of the Brazilian civilization. We are losing not only buildings, we are not only losing museums, we are losing the urban fabric of the cities in Brazil. And we are losing out somehow a geographic space to reinvent the democracy in the country. And at the same time, we don't have solutions to reuse those existing abandoned buildings. But if you look to the legal environment, wow, it's perfect. Since the early 80s, we got everything. We got laws to everything. We got laws to the public construction. We got a city law, actually got a Ministry of Cities. We got a sanitation law, public architectural law. We got urban mobility law. We got metropolitan law in Brazil. Actually, if you look to Brazil, it's quite possible to create a Milky Way law. So there's a lot of laws, but we are not solving this problem. So I started my career working with social housing, patrimony, heritage, working in Rio and also working in the Belém. Very young, we want this national competition design to work in the Vero Peso fair in the Amazon region, where the the natural products are not only natural, but they are also spiritual. They are magical. And this is an amazing environment with amazing culture. I lived there almost 1 year. And we made this design, and we made also the restoration of some buildings. We have to deal with rain. We have to deal with all the intensity of the Amazon environment. After that, I have been working with urban design, urban master planning in the Caribbean, and different parts of the country, working with exhibition design, and making the most important thing to a Brazilian architect, which is unsolicited architecture. So how to try to find a client just creating a building. So when I lived in the Amazon region, one day in my apartment in the 24th story, in 24th floor, I found this very tiny plant in the edge of the balcony, the concrete balcony. And it was for me an epiphany, because this very tiny plant, it's into this very high-rising building, Art Deco building, was fighting against the wind, was fighting against the concrete, and it was possible to grow. So this very tiny plant contains the whole life of the planet Earth. This is not only in the Amazon region, so I have this epiphany about how life is so intense in our planet, and somehow, and sometimes we as designers of the built environment, we create these nihilist environments and very sterile environments, and losing this potential of the life. It was some kind of illumination, enlightening for me. And after that, I started looking to work with a more human-centered design and try to create more meaningful solutions to the built environment. Rio is a magnificent city with a lot of tension on the built environment and nature. We truly understand landscape as urbanism in Rio. We don't need a book to learn that. And in 2012, Rio was recognized as the cultural landscape of Rio was recognized as heritage. World Heritage. The city grew in this amazing geographic city, place, the Guanabara Bay, but at the same time we had a lot of inequality, a lot of problems to the urban development of the city, with a high concentration of informality. Almost 14% of the Rio population live in favelas. And we look to the history of the city, we are looking to a modus operandi of growth, a path that is always making the city bigger. And now Rio, it's a city that from the downtown area to the west edge or to the east edge, it's a 60 kilometers radius city. It's a massive metropolitan region. And if you look to this study, we got now the same density that you used to have in the beginning of the 19th century, in the 20th century. So after that, I work into a very poor city in the metropolitan region, making safe routes for kids, making public space. And after that, and because of this work, I was invited to go to the City Hall of Rio, and I made a lot of cultural buildings designs, like this old cinema, converting to a multi-purpose cultural center, and also restoring important space in the working class neighborhoods in the city of Rio. But the most important thing in my work, it was helping to manage the waterfront renovation in the city. And we had this idea of create some Robin Hood law to capture 3% of the real estate money. And because of that, we are able to make a lot of urban restoration in the port area of Rio. We raised 114 million reais, which is almost $35 million. And because of that, we got a comprehensive restoration, which is not only about buildings, but also we create an intangible program to support the local communities. So it's a program to create a community restoration. In the port area of Rio, we have to manage with a lot of archaeological finds which is a very complex issue to manage. And one of the most important that unfolded, it was the Valongo Wharf, an important place for the colonial times, the slavery times. And we created this urban design to make possible to stay close of the structure, to feel the pain of the structure, but at the same time celebrate against the violence and the loss of the humanity of the slavery. And because of that, we created this African Heritage Trail, working with the local community, the port area, and we start to support the local community by funding and also by giving them this historic place to be occupied. And we found a lot of important archaeological found, and we created this open archive labs, open urban lab, to not only collecting the artifacts, but also it create a possibility to be visited. And at the same time, we changed the quality of the waterfront of Rio, removing this stupid infrastructure. It was called perimetral. It's 5 kilometers, elevated highway. And for the first time, we opened some spaces for historical places, and we create a new centrality in the historic center of Rio, especially in the port area, also with a new mobility. We got the same, we got the same global recipe to change urban centers. We got our Calatrava. We got important museums. It's a huge successful museum, 3 million visitors till now. But the most important thing, it's creating space to people stay once again connect with the urban environment. And this is it was a massive transformation. So it's not only about the scale of the monument, but the scale of the body and the freedom of the body in the nature. One place that we also recovered was the Tiradentes Square. We removed the fences, we create more spacing for pedestrians, and this was the first carnival of the square. After that, we removed the fence. And in this place, we create this Carioca Design Center, a place to attract young people to the historic in downtown area. It works a lot. We work very hard to manage buildings that were in risk, try to create a solution, and we found solution to do that. And facing these difficulties, so I created this grant. It's the first kind of this policy in Brazil. Basically, we are giving public money to private buildings to restore facades, roof, and infrastructure and accessibility. And we got a national award because of this grant. So it's not about the building, it's about how to support people to stay in the historic urban fabric. Because place is a resource. But this is not so clear in Brazil, because we got this very intense idea of modern nation. This legacy of Le Corbusier is very intense in Brazil. It's possible to see the celebration. Bulemax, Rigi, Lúcio Costa, Carmen Portinho. And we create our city based in these modernist ideas, the capital of Brazil. Which is not only a new city, and Lúcio Costa and Oscar Niemeyer. Oscar Niemeyer lived for 104 years, so it's a real legacy. And also the modernists had created a political capital in Brazil. So till now, since now, we still believe in those principles, ideas of vastness and quickness. So we got land, we got all this bigness to create cities, and we want to make that in a very short way, like we did Brasilia. And so this idea of just one hand possible to draw in the landscape, it's till now very present in the Brazilian environment. So Rio is shaped not only by political or economic force, but essentially Rio is shaped also by aesthetic force that is still very relevant in the Brazil environment. This is the dictatorship opening the infrastructure, the elevated highway. It's possible to see the crowd very happy. And that was the perimeter of 5 kilometers, 11 meters high of a stupid highway. And this latency of the urban form, it's also one aspect to a very important aspect to create corruption sometimes. And now with the anti-corruption policies, it's quite clear to see how public works, and especially this idea of very lighting design solutions, it's quite good for corruption solutions. I love this cartoon made by Orchestfield in the Art Forum magazine in 1960, putting the workers of Brasilia into a historic panorama in the middle of the modern built environment. So in my practice, I have been looking for this scale of work for the built environment. Not only the monumental one, but how to be more meaningful, more culturally appropriated, and my time just finished. And how to be also good for the citizens in the daily path. So one work that I managed, it was also making this urban design, walkable urban design. So basically, I walk in the city, in the historic city, with my colleagues from the city hall, asking them to pay attention to small problems in the built environment, like this abandoned kiosk. And because of this kind of work, we are able to manage a lot of small qualities to the built environment. I use WhatsApp to work to talk with local communities in the historic and downtown area. It was a huge mess, very terrible to my health, but it was quite good. It was quite good to create a very lighting velocity connection with the citizens in the historic center. So they send me pictures of problems, and I use this WhatsApp to create solutions to them in a very fast way. And we work with communities dealing with that. So I believe in the holistic city. It's not only about the built environment, but it's also about this cultural environment. So we also recognize traditional business, small stores. We create guides to increase the wideness of the historic environment. We recognize bars and places to eat and to drink. This is a very important thing in cities, to be much more accessible to people. We create technology, smartphone applications, to increase the awareness to the built environment, because this is the most holistic understand way to deal with that. So heritage is not only taking care of the past, but is basically managing the transformation of the city. So heritage is a design tool, and design is also heritage at the moment that we are dealing with memory. So this is in my work now, since I left the city hall, I have been advocating for this new understanding for the urban environment, try to create and promote a new lexicon to the cities. I have been writing a lot in the last 3 years, and because of that, I was the curator of the 2016 Brazilian Pavilion Biennale at Venice. And I'm working with my partner, Patricia Fent, and Francesco Perrota Bosch. We made this warm design to people be in touch with the content. And so now I'm here. I'm here in Harvard. And how is my work plan? I'm very interested in housing policy. I'm here basically to learn and to share what I learned. I'm interested in housing policies. I want to work with mapping solutions, data-driven master plan, urban design, critical conservation, critical preserving, history of modernism. I'm interested in these fields. And so, finishing, I would like to thank you for Francis and John Loeb for this lifetime opportunity. I would like to thank you, John and Sally, for this chance of being here. And I would like to salutate Aunt Lucia. She passed away last week. She was an important person in the historic center of Rio. I learned a lot with her. And finally, salutating the elderly, also salutating the young. I want to salutate Nina. She's my daughter. She's making anniversary today. Thank you.